And I'm like, if I get home and you're home, I'm fighting you. So I think then she had like mold in her clothes. Like when I tell you, oh, you put a hit out on me. Huh? Let me paint the scene for you. It's 2013, 2014. Fetty Wap is popular. We'd still doing dances. We still dancing in the club. Instagram just became a thing. It's in chronological order. And you're in your freshman year of college. You think that everything is good. Everything is fine. And then you have the roommate from hell. Let's get into this story time. I had not one, but two bad roommate experiences. So let me tell you, so back in the day before social media was a thing of what it is now today, it was a fun place. Twitter was still called Twitter. It wasn't run by Elon Musk. I mean, your greatest memes, your greatest hits was on Twitter during that time. And I went to a PWI, which if you don't know what a PWI is, it is a predominantly white institution, and so I really wanted a roommate who was black. And so my first place was on campus. It was just for the summer. I was in like summer B because all the cool kids went to summer B. I'm gonna just say it like that. And so I wanted a roommate, and I think I had just got into my university maybe a few weeks before school started. So I think I did the roommate portal, but I'm like, I'm not sure. So I went on Twitter and was just basically like, hey, I need a roommate. So I found this black girl. She was really cool. She was from Tampa, Florida. And I'm like, all right, cool. We kicked it up and we're like, do you want to be a roommate? Sure. So we got into the dorms together. Perfect. Like she was like a good roommate. You know, we went to class. We dated twins actually. And one of them actually did play in the NFL. Actually, both of them did. You know, I was a football girly. Like, and so everything was great. And then we're just like, hey, this is good. Let's move off campus. Y'all, let me tell you, some people do not do well with too much freedom. If you've ever been to a 4-year university, you know the people who like, this is like their first time of freedom. This is their first time that they can, you know, express themselves, whatever. That's what people fail out, get pregnant, do drugs, whatever, you know, freshman year. And so we moved into the apartment. So we got a 4-4 because at first we was looking at apartments and I think like the 4-2s was better. So you'd be like sharing a bathroom. I'm like, sis, we shared a bathroom in the dorm. I'm not sharing a bathroom with you. I don't have time to figure out who's gonna clean what. No, I want my own room, my own bathroom. So we got a 4-4, and then we moved in with there was two girls that was already living there before us. One was Cuban, and I want to say that they were both Cuban. I don't know. I'm so sorry if I'm not making it right that if both of y'all were Cuban or not, because I know that one of y'all was Cuban. But it's crazy because I still, you know, still talk to them to this day. Not like all the time, but like we follow each other on social media. I celebrate their wins, they celebrate their wins. They were cool. It's the black girl. So when we first moved in, everything was good. All of a sudden she stopped going to class. She started doing drugs, and it got to the point where this girl was like a drifter, and even like the other roommates was like, what's going on with her? I said, I don't know. It got to the point where she was just like bringing strange people into the house. So then at one point there was like this guy who lived in like the 3rd floor. He had got broken into, and he was just like, oh, you put a hit out on me. Huh? Baby girl didn't put no hit on nobody. I go to class, I come home, I do my thing. So then I had to have my friend's boyfriend come and be like, I don't know what you're talking about, ain't nothing going down. Like it just got so out of control. And then miraculously my car got egged, and I was just like, I know it's her. I know it's you. And I'm like, if I get home and you're home, I'm fighting you, because there's no way that you didn't egg my car. Because I had neighbors who were like really cool, like I'm still tight with them to this day, and they were just like, nah, your car was good. And then the next minute we heard them keying and it got egged. And I kid you not, this girl did not come to the apartment for like 2 weeks. So by then I wasn't even mad anymore, and I'm like, man, you know, let it go, because if it was in the heat of the moment I would have gotten you. I said, but now, you know, it's okay. Like she was scary. She did not like Like, she barely saw me. And then it got so bad that her parents came and moved her out. But like, they were still paying her portion of the rent. So we never got a new roommate after that. Once her dad picked her up, and the thing was, y'all forgot, this woman was Jamaican. Like, both her parents was Jamaican. And then her mom was like calling me. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with her. She's not going to class. Like, she's failing out. I said, come get your child. Like, there's nothing that I can do. There's nothing that neither one of these other girls can do. Come get your kid. Because like, her parents was divorced. So like, both of them only knew like half the story. And then her dad came and he was just like, what is this? And then she would have like asthma attacks. She would have panic attacks. And I'll never forget, one of my roommates, she had like popsicles in the freezer. I would just call her Candy. She said, Candy, did you eat my popsicle? Candy, with the popsicle in her mouth, no. And she was just like, Candy, I see you eating my popsicle. And she was just like, I'm not eating a popsicle. I kid you not. That apartment really could have been on reality TV, because it was, and I think there was other people in the apartment. I think like my friend, who I'm still cool with, I think she was there too. Like, I think there was like a good amount of people, like maybe like some of my friends there. And she was just like, what do you mean you're eating my popsicle? Like, I'm literally watching you eating my popsicle. She's like, I'm not eating your popsicle. And she said it with such a straight face. My roommate, let's call her roommate A, she was just like, you know what, it's not even worth it. I kid you not, as soon as that lease ended, we all moved out. Like, I don't know who else moved in after that place, because they had already been there a year before, and then it just got so bad. Like, we was living in the hood at a certain degree. Like, it looked good on the outside. The only saving grace was like the people who worked there were cool, like the maintenance people were cool, and then my next door neighbors, like, only saving grace. Because after that, I left, they left, everybody left, they rebranded it, they repainted, and I don't know how it is now. So fast forward, I'm just like, okay, so next year I'm not going to do that anymore. So me and my friend were like, hey, let's get an apartment together. We're gonna get this place where it's secluded, like nobody really knows. So it was two of us. And then my other friend from high school was just like, oh, I need a place to stay. I'm like, okay, you can live with us. So we only need to find one more person. And I think we did find somebody. When I tell you, these was just dropping like flies. And then it was like, me and my friend were like, okay, what are we gonna do? We didn't want randoms, because I think she stayed with randoms. No, she didn't stay with randoms. She stayed with a friend from like back home. I don't know if she had a 4-4 or what, but she stayed with a friend back home. I think that friend had got like pregnant, whatever. Like, so like, not as bad as my experience was, but it was just like, she wasn't gonna do that again. And so we're like, we don't want randoms. We kept finding. Like, the one thing about black people that, like, I love us, but then you know how black people can be annoying? Black people wait to the last minute and be like, oh, I can't do this, or oh, I ain't got the money. Like, you need to tell people, we over here trying to make plans, trying to make moves, we're trying to put a deposit down. And I think at that place, the deposit, I don't know if deposit had to be together or what, but we're just like, we didn't want randoms. So then my friend's cousin was like, okay, well, I'll move with us. But then she kept going back and forth, and I'm like, okay, is she gonna move in with us or not? So already off rip, this girl didn't like me because I told her that she needed to make a decision. And I'm like, how you gonna have an attitude with me when you playing around whether you're gonna live here or not? Like, what you gonna do? Because at the end of the day, I didn't want two randoms, because we were already gonna have one random. And to this day, I don't even remember the random. Like, I think she was fed up with all of us too. But I was just like, you need to figure it out. So when I said that, she just had a problem with me from jump. She eventually moved in. When I tell you, I ain't never met somebody miserable daily. This girl would have an attitude with me every single night. Every single night. Like, for no reason. For no reason at all. And then she was dirty. Like, how you gonna have an attitude and you dirty? Like, you don't clean. And then my friend didn't want to get in between, and she's like, well, you know, this is my cousin. I know y'all have beef. I'm like, you need to intervene or something. The other girl, she must have had like a stove top in her room, or only ate them. Like, I rarely saw her, because our rooms, like my room was on the left side of the apartment, and then I was across from the random, and then my friend and her cousin was on the other side. And so she would not clean, and then she would keep pots and pans in the oven, and I wouldn't know. And so I would heat up the oven. No, it wasn't pots and pans. She would keep oil in the oven, and I'm like, who the hell keeps oil in an oven? And so when I would preheat preheat the oven, the oil would be in there. And she's like, oh, I had oil. And I said, why are you having oil in the oven when you have to preheat an oven? She's like, oh, well, you need to look inside the oven. There should be nothing in the oven. Like, that is a fire hazard. There should be nothing that you're keeping inside your oven. Under the oven is still questionable because you're really not supposed to put pans under the oven either, which I found out because that is actually for you to keep your food warm if you have like one of those like old school ovens. And like I said, this was at this point, we're fast forwarding to 2014, 15. So it was a stainless steel oven, but it still was the one that you know, you could pull out. Like we kept like having these back and forth. And I said, okay, if you're gonna keep something in the oven, because we had like a little board, I said, write it on the damn board. So at least I know that there's something in here, because if I'm coming from school or work, the last thing I'm trying to do is like, oh, let me see if there's oil in the oven, because this oil's not supposed to be in the oven. Like, no. So then she put that on there and that was cool. But when I tell you, this didn't clean not a damn thing. She didn't clean the kitchen. She didn't clean the floors. She didn't vacuum. She didn't do anything. And so there was one time when she had made spaghetti. That spaghetti sat on the stove for 2 weeks, to the point where there was maggots in it. When as soon as you open up the door, it smelled. And the rando, she's like, I'm not cleaning that. My friend, she's like, I'm not cleaning that. She needs to clean that. And this would come into the house every single day and walk past the kitchen. I told my friend, I said, did she not smell that? Did she not know that she's the one who cooked that and she's the one to clean it out? It got to a point where I just did it. Like, I think what I did was I threw the whole pot out. And I think she was like, oh, why did you throw the pot out? Girl, you lucky that's all I did, because how can you be so dirty that you can't even put your food up? Like, that's so dirty, that's so lazy. And she kept getting evicted too. Like, they wasn't fully evicting her, but they put on the door because she wasn't paying her rent. I'm like, so you don't clean, you don't pay your rent. And then she would keep clothes in the washer and dryer. Like, she would wash and then never finish. So I think then she had like mold in her clothes. Like, when I tell you, it got to a point where I'm just like, look, she need to get her stuff together. And then like, I was at ROTC at the time, and so they would have people over and sometimes they would be loud, and I'm like, look, it got to a point where like there was a divide in the apartment, because I was in ROTC, I was working, so like I was working 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. at Victoria's Secret. I had ROTC from 5 a.m. like 5:30 to 7 a.m. and then I had class during that block. So then I would, so okay, let me, I had ROTC, then I was working at Nike. So I would have ROTC till like 7:38. I would come home, do an ice bath, take a shower, go to work at Nike, which was like 30 minutes from where I was staying, until like basically doing an 8-hour shift, coming back home, doing class at night, and because I had like online classes then. And then I ended up switching my schedule. I quit Nike because it was too much. And then I worked at Victoria's Secret from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Still a terrible idea. So your girl was working, your girl was actually going to class, your girl had stuff going on, and they would have people come over. And then it got to the point where like we had a friend group, but they're like, oh well, you only want to hang out when it's convenient for you. Oh my gosh, God forbid that the girl who's doing everything only wants to hang out when it's convenient for you. Like, I'm sorry, nobody else is trying to serve the military. And on top of that, I was in like a fast track because I didn't do ROTC my first year, so I was taking double the ROTC caseload. Like, I was taking 2 classes at once. So I felt like they didn't understand how stressed I was, because not only that, I was also in my major, and then I switched majors too. So like I was doing double coursework at the university, double coursework for ROTC, and working. So I'm sorry that I don't have time to kiki with y'all, because I have real going on, you know. Sorry, not sorry. So there was a divide in the house, and it got to the point where I was like, Tanisha, I ain't get no sleep because of y'all. Y'all not gonna sleep because of me. It got to that point, because I feel like if you're not paying rent in this house, if I tell you to leave, you need to leave. And the thing is that the people who was there lived in the same building. I'm like, y'all can take that to another building. So then she would be mad. She was like, oh, well, we have to be quiet at night. Yeah, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I have to get up at 5 a.m. I'm like, I don't disturb you guys when I wake up in the morning. So then I can think at a certain point, I'm like, okay. Oh, and then the girl who was dirty, filthy, disgusting, wanted to have the AC to like 50 degrees. So I'm just like, I'm cold. And she's like, oh, I can only sleep when it's cold. Like, how you can only sleep when it's cold, but you can't even clean the floor? How can you not have it at an appropriate temperature when you can't even wash a pot? How can you want to have the temperature when you can't even wash clothes? You can't even do basic stuff, but you want to control the temperature? So what I would do is when everyone went to sleep, I would wake up and turn it back up because I would be freezing in the morning. And I'm just like, I can't live like this. Like, she made life in that apartment miserable until she got fully kicked out. And I think they never found anyone to put in that room. So there's just like nobody in there. The day she got evicted was like the happiest day. And my friend was just like, yeah, I'm kind of glad she's not here anymore because that was just ridiculous. And I just didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to get in between. And she wasn't going to listen to me anyways. Honestly, once she left the place, everything was fine and everything was cool. But baby, when they didn't want to be quiet in the daytime, best believe at 6 o'clock in the morning, I was stomping, I was playing music. I was like, nah, y'all gonna know how it feels to try to sleep and someone's being destructive, because that's not cool. So like I said, once she left, everything was cool. And that was the last time I lived with girls. The last year, I went back home with my parents. I said, you know what? I'd rather live with them than live with all these crazy I don't want to live with nobody. To this day, it's been 10 years. I ain't never lived with the girl anymore. Even when I went to law school my first year, I needed an apartment. Like, oh, you know, it'll be cheaper if you get a roommate. Roommate. Did y'all not just hear the stories that I had with roommates? And I felt like that was just, those were the highlights, because the first girl, she was terrible. It got to the point where the first girl, like, people was calling me like, what's wrong with your friend? I said, I don't know that girl. Like, well, didn't you live with her on campus? I said, that was a different person. This girl's a variant. I don't know who this person is. I can't help her. I can't save her. And I think even now, like, some people from a university, like, rarely they'll ask me like, oh, what is she doing? Or like some people like, oh, I think she's doing better. Oh, I think someone said that one time that she became a stripper. I'm like, oh, a stripper? You didn't have the body of a stripper, but hey, everybody need love. Thank you so much for watching the video. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever had a crazy roommate, because I've had two. So let me know what's like y'all craziest story with roommates, because I feel like everybody has had a crazy roommate, or like something happened to where you either got evicted or there was a fight broke out or something like that. I want to know. Let's keep this conversation going down in the comments, and check out the videos on the screen, because apparently YouTube thinks that y'all should watch that. And you know, just run it up. This is gonna be a fun channel. I have so much things going on. Like, I really want to grow this community. Like, we're here to have fun and just, you know, talk about things, grow better as people, and overall we're just gonna be a bunch of bad bitches and kings. Okay.